Hi, you're listening to the Casting for Two podcast with your host and my little brother, Chris.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Casting for Two, episode number 6. And that was my big sis, who happened to be sitting right behind me as I was cutting this episode. So I thought it'd be fun for her to get on the mic. And she did. And that is the end of that story, which is a pretty good story. But I'm very excited for today's episode. I happened to talk to friend / paper work guru, the man, the myth, the legend, the Jordan Clark. He is a documentary filmmaker. He's made 2 movies, Bangkok Girl and The Aswang Phenomenon, which are both great, and they're available on YouTube right now to check out. So go check it out. But I had a lot of fun chatting with him. He's not familiar with podcasts, so getting him to do this was, it wasn't a challenge, but it was very fun just to, lay down some fat beats and stuff like, not fat, well, you get it. He has a website that he's looking to get off the ground, which is very close, and it's a great source for independent filmmakers. It's called chainoftitles.ca. It's a free source where you can go on to learn and protect and maintain any copyrights for any independent film that you do. It's a great site. He's having an Indiegogo campaign right now where you can actually go on to and donate to help get this site 100% running. So if you want to go do that, either go onto the website or Twitter, or just search Indiegogo. It's that easy. Enough talking. Let's start the episode. Chris, cue the music. Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Well, not much. Just talking to you.
Oh, that's cool.
Are you recording now?
Yes. Would you like me not to?
No, we can start again. I don't know how these work. I've never done a podcast before in my life, so I didn't know it was going to be like, I'm going to call now. Hey, how's it going? And I'm like, huh? So how do you usually start them?
I just start them, yeah. It's very informal, so it just kind of... We start when we start, really. So
okay.
Right now, we could have already started.
Okay, so you can do the, hey, how's it going, man? And I'll do the, oh, pretty good, Chris. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want. Whatever works best for you.
Hey, Jordan!
Hey, Chris.
Oh my gosh, how are you?
I can't believe we finally touched base and connected.
I can't believe you're back sort of stateside.
I know.
Not stateside, but you know.
I wasn't anywhere close to you, was I?
No.
You're still like 12 hours away from the closest I came to you in the States, right?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Where did you go on vacay?
I was in the Philippines earlier this year in June, July, and then when I got back, my wife and I took a trip to Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And we visited the Grand Canyon for the first time, which was really, really spectacular.
Nice. I went to the Grand Canyon when I was a little kid, but it was during fall and it was very foggy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, it was really clear when we were there. It was breathtaking. Really, really was. All the hype that you hear about it was completely justified once we got there. And an interesting statistic I heard from the park rangers there when they were talking to somebody else was asking questions. I love to eavesdrop, so.
Uh-huh.
But somebody else was talking to the park ranger. The park ranger said that just over 200 people a year actually fall from the Grand Canyon.
Ooh, okay. So,
But only a few result in fatalities. But given that there's 2 million visitors a year, those are pretty good stats.
yeah. You think? I think it would be higher now. But what is the ratio between ages?
Actually, when I Googled it afterwards, I found that a lot of the people that fall are kids, like young children, like 4 years old and things like that. So, and I imagine there's a lot of sort of older people who don't realize that they've aged as much as they had, like myself. Like I always considered myself like a llama, right? Like I could just hike up and down. But when I was there, when you see just how far you can fall, it makes you kind of think twice. And then nobody goes there with the proper hiking shoes or anything like that. But there's actually far more deaths from people dying from dehydration.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, just like trying to do the canyon hike down to the river in one day and stuff like that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would expect the ratio of people falling would be either younger kids or older people.
Yeah, I imagine that's what it is, or people who are ridiculously hungover coming on the day trip from Vegas. It was like 40 degrees, but like 6% humidity.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk outside and you're like a raisin within minutes.
Now, for the people at home, 40 degrees Celsius is 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
100%, because I just tweeted a picture of the weather it was around here, and it was 104. And when I converted it to Celsius, it was 40 degrees.
Yeah, it was hot. Like, you walk outside, and it's like, this is more in Vegas, though. You walk outside the hotel and the casino, and it's like, when you open the oven to check, like, how your food's doing, that's what it felt like. Mm-hmm. Like, it was real. And I had just come from the Philippines, too, which was like, 34, 35 degrees every day. But it was a different kind of heat. It was like, also there, it was like 90, 95% humidity. Mm-hmm. So there, you sweat a lot.
Right.
So, you're kind of always cooling off. And in Vegas, you're hot, but you're not sweating. And, you just realize, like, why is my tongue like leather? And I should probably drink something.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I do better with the dry heat because there's something about humidity and just being sweaty all the time. Now, if everybody else is sweaty, I don't really mind that. But if it's just me, I don't know. I just feel weird about that.
Yeah, me and my wife were totally opposite. She likes the dry heat. She loves the heat, but the dry heat like in Vegas. Me, I love the humidity. I love the sweating. As long as you kind of control it a little bit, because you drink tons of water and it's this like constant detoxification. Mm-hmm. So I just feel so much better when I've been in a really humid climate as opposed to a really dry climate.
Right. See, I feel so much better when I'm in neither, in like a cold environment where it's snowing.
Yeah, I can't stand the cold. Being a Canadian, you'd think that I would be able to. I've never been skiing, never want to go skiing. When it snows, I'm like a shut-in. I'm a hermit. So from like November to March, nobody sees me because
really?
I don't leave the house unless it's absolutely necessary. I cannot stand the cold. Like it's just my whole body doesn't, like my ears ache and my nose runs and my face gets numb and I'm a total baby with it. Total baby. And my wife, who was born in the Philippines, does very well in the cold. Mm-hmm. You'd think it'd be the opposite.
Right. So you married a complete opposite from the sounds of it.
I did.
Jeez.
Completely opposite. But opposites attract, right?
Yeah, that is true. But what were you doing in the Philippines?
I went there I have a small program that I run there that sends some children to school. So we send about 12 children to school there, and I was just going and checking on them, making sure that they have everything they need, and we actually have one of them who's starting university next year. So just making sure that she has everything that they need, and every time you do anything to sort of help someone in a third world country, it's like opening up a can of worms, because going back to basically their birth, there's different issues and problems that have happened, economically and also just because of their surroundings, conditions, the way things operate there, that you need to sort out for them. And, the latest one was in order to register for university or college there, you have to have a certificate of live birth, which is basically like your birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who are living in extreme poverty don't bother registering the live births because it costs money. So she doesn't have a registration of live birth, and I found out that in order to get that, because I had someone who works at the government office there where we can get those, she has to apply for it at her city of birth, which is actually like an island away. So she has to take a boat to this island, wait there until they issue the certificate. So there's this whole process that you have to do that is totally time-consuming and expensive. And anyways, but so just getting all these things sorted out so she can start college on time.
My dad actually doesn't have a birth certificate either. His parents didn't have any money to actually get a birth certificate, so he still doesn't have one.
Yeah, I imagine it's the same. I mean, if you're born in any sort of hospital, you get, you get the paperwork from the hospital, and then you need to take that to the government office and register it. The problem of doing a late registration is now you need to have, an affidavit. You have to have a letter from your, what they call a barangay, like your sort of district leader, and all these other issues that you need to do because, if somebody could just find out somebody who passed away and assume their identity. So you really do need to have all these other documents. But you have to do it in person. There's no online process to do this. Not like here, you pay $10 and you get your certificate.
Well, it's funny because, he immigrated from Mexico. He has his social security number, but yet he still doesn't have a birth certificate. He just, times are different back then. He just never needed one.
There must be some record of his birth then, if he was able to get to immigrate and get a social security number.
I don't, maybe, probably, I don't know. It was back in the day, so they probably just said, where you could just cross the border without needing any paperwork. So I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know how Mexico works.
It was very different back then, but that's cool that you're doing all this. Hopefully,
I try to. At the end of the days, when I finally kick off, I hope that I did a little bit more good than I did bad. So
there you go. But I want to talk filmmaking. Let's talk filmmaking.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
You mentioned you have kids. Do any of them want to get into filmmaking, or would you
no? My
urge them
son
to?
had absolutely no interest at all in getting into filmmaking. So far, my daughter's only 6 now, so. Right. She hasn't really shown a lot of interest, and I don't know in this day and age if I would encourage somebody to go down that line of work unless there was something that they found within themselves to get passionate about. Like I have all the tools, and they're welcome to it at any time. But it's as far as the independent side of filmmaking goes, it's a pretty tough industry.
Right.
And it's always a bit of a struggle, and I've been pretty lucky that I've been able to find viewers on my films and find my audience, but that's because I had a pretty good idea of who they were going to be before I started making the film. Mm-hmm. And I find a lot of today's generation, because of the accessibility of the technology, anyone can get a camera that records HD. There's tutorials for everything online. Mm-hmm. But that sort of me, I came from film cameras. All my cameras throughout my 20s, you had 32 shots, make them count. Mm-hmm. If you used it up and you weren't close to somewhere where you could buy more film, then you had to go and go without taking more pictures. And I'd been on vacation, I'd run out of film, taken my 32 shots and been like, oh crap, then you come to something totally amazing. Oh look, the volcano's erupting, and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't take 31 shots of the turtle.
Right.
So it becomes like that. So you learn a bit of a discipline. You learn how to make choices. And that mentality sort of, when I went to film school, transferred over. So I think that I might have had a bit of a leg up. I'm not a super talented filmmaker. I don't have a lot of sort of artistic skills, but business-wise, I knew how to manage all the paperwork, and I knew that I had to know who my audience was. If you don't know who your audience is, nobody will. Mm-hmm. And yes, there is a chance that filmmakers can just get together, learn everything online, make an amazing film, and their audience will find the film. But I think a better approach is to really try to figure out who's going to watch your film, why you're making the film, and then when it's done, you can access this audience that you're already aware of, as opposed to hoping that somehow they find your trailer on YouTube or whatever.
Mm-hmm. We went to the same school, and I'm just very interested in how you learn the business side. The business side is always very interesting to me, and it seems like, well, it is like you're the go-to guy in Victoria.
Yeah, I
think
it was, I was really lucky to have a good mentor when I got out of film school, and he sort of gave me this basic understanding of what you need to do, and the key phrase for that is errors and omissions insurance, and that was, things are changing now, with Creative Commons and copyleft and things like that, but it's not there. You have to get releases from everyone on set. Mm-hmm. Anybody who works on your film, you need a release because of copyright law, and copyright law is not practicing why it was created. So, but where we are now is that it's being misused and abused and misunderstood, and this is because of very clever lawyers trying to make money for their clients, and clients trying to make money because of the way that the law is now being interpreted. But the way it exists right now is that anytime anybody does something creative, you could scribble a wiggly line on a piece of paper. You own that copyright. That copyright for that squiggly line and that piece of paper now belongs to you. Anything creative that you create, write, do is automatically your copyright. So cinematographers own the copyright to, however they've lit the shot. Actors own the copyright to the performances. Of course, screenwriters own the copyright to their scripts, which is the big one, because that's the, directors need to access that in the independent world. So that's usually about as far as they get. Most films fail, so that's why a lot of people don't understand this chain of title in films, this long chain of paperwork that entitles you to exploit the rights in the film to make money. And I think I'm jumping all over the place here, so I'm not sure if you're able to follow.
I'm totally following. I'm listening. I'm following.
Yeah. So for me, that key phrase, errors and omissions insurance, and finding out what that was, and that's basically a certificate that's issued for your film, a policy. Mm-hmm. Think of it like malpractice insurance for filmmakers. Mm-hmm. If somehow you've missed securing a copyright or a trademark or music licensing or anything for your film, there's this. It's insurance to cover the costs of a lawsuit and things like that. But in order to get it, you have to provide all the paperwork. It goes under the scrutiny of your lawyer. It goes under the scrutiny of their omissions insurance lawyer. And then they issue the certificate. And knowing about that really made me think twice when I was framing shots and securing likeness releases for the first documentary that I did. So I was already in pretty good shape, but I still ran into problems, and it still became a very expensive process. So when I made my next film, I didn't want to run into any of those problems again. So out of necessity, I learned how to do all this stuff in the independent world, how to cut down those legal expenses, how to only start paying a lawyer when you absolutely need to, and make sure that their time is totally minimized. So your legal fees are, $600 to $1,000 as opposed to being, $10,000 plus. But it's needed. Like, you can still, if put your film on YouTube, but if you have third party, it's going to get shut down. Mm-hmm. There's, if you do find any sort of distribution that doesn't require that errors and omissions insurance, you're probably not making very much money.
Right.
And you've probably also signed a waiver saying that you have secured all the rights. So if there is a problem, you're now personally liable if you didn't set up a limited liability company for that film that carries errors and omissions insurance. Mm. Once Creative Commons gets there, and that's the argument I hear, what about Creative Commons and things like that, which is great. This is where an artist can release their work to the public for use on a limited basis or on a completely open basis, where the work can be interpreted and reused however anybody wants. The problem is Creative Commons is really misunderstood the different types of licensing that exists. And also, it's only good if you're dealing with a single artist. So if you want to release your painting under Creative Commons, you can do that because it's one artist, one piece of work, and it's being released. If you're trying to release a film under Creative Commons, you're dealing with hundreds of people's copyrights, so all of them would have to agree to release that under Creative Commons. And in the independent world, where a lot of stuff is done for points or deferment, nobody would do that because it's guaranteed they're not going to get paid. But also, the big problem is other people can take that work and reinterpret it. So if you have an actor who's released their performance under Creative Commons and somebody thinks it's a hilarious performance, and they do a mashup or whatever of the performance with something else, then there's nothing that the original Creative Commons license holder can do about it. So it's a really dangerous road to start going down until they work out all those fine details about it and integrate it better into copyright law. But
It's sad. That's why I never expect to sell any of my stuff.
well, I mean,
I just have fun.
but you have like 3 people in your films too, right?
Right.
So
No,
it wouldn't be
4,
hard to clean
come
it up.
on. Come on.
4,
4
yeah, that's
people.
right. Yeah, that's true, including the camera guy.
Including the camera, myself. Come on.
That counts as one person.
Yes. Did you want to talk about Chain of Title?
Yeah, we actually just launched another little Indiegogo campaign for top-up funding. But yeah, Chain of Title, what myself and some other local independent filmmakers are doing here is creating a resource that goes through each individual part of the chain of title, starting with title clearance, script clearance, optioning the script, every sort of contract you would have to enter into, whether it's a release for a trademark, licensing film clips, still photos, artwork, products, actor releases, likeness releases, any sort of aspect of filmmaking that you would need to deal with somebody else's copyright. It's going to go through that point by point with animated video explanations on how to do that, what contracts you need, and all the different points in the contracts that you need to look out for. So, there's tutorials for everything else, and really extensive tutorials for editing, whether you're using Final Cut Pro or Premiere or whatever you want to edit in, cinematography, lighting. There's just so many different tutorials, but nothing for filmmakers to deal with the business end, to deal with the paperwork. So we wanted to create a site where filmmakers can go and get their questions answered. They can be on set. If there's a question about a trademark or something in the background, or license plates on cars, logos on cars, which you're not allowed to use either. But if they run into a question like that, they can search the site and find the answer that they need. Not only this 10 paragraphs on why you can't use it, but a quick video explanation and animated explanation on why you can't use it. So you don't have to read through tons of stuff, which nobody does. You just get this quick video explanation on, can you use it, yes or no, this is why, this is why you can or can't, and here's what you need if you want to secure it. So it's going to be something that I think is really needed by the independent film world, and so we're working to get that done. We started out needing to raise $48,000, and so far we've been able to raise $38,000 of that. We've got a private site sponsor who's in the process right now of legally vetting the material for the site, and then we can go public with them and hopefully be able to secure the rest of the funding.
Right on.
But yeah, people can look it up. We're on Facebook. We got a website, chainoftitle.ca. We're on Facebook. You can just search Chain of Title. Or we're on Twitter, same thing, Chain of Title. And we've just launched a top-up Indiegogo campaign, which you can search Indiegogo Chain of Title, and it'll come up as well. Yeah, so we just really want to create a free resource. I should mention that too. Like, we're not going to be charging for use of the site. We just want to put something out there that completes sort of that free online education. Having gone to film school, having been the program coordinator at a film school, dealing with the owners of these places where a lot of the motivation is it's financially based, which I'm okay with businesses making money because that's what businesses are in the business of doing. But, the creative education as a business, there's just such an uneasiness about it, especially when, the quality of education starts being sacrificed to save a couple bucks. So, if you want to get into creative education, provide a proper education. Don't start picking and choosing what you're going to teach in order to make money or save money. That's when, that's why I walked away from that whole sort of education end of things is, charging money for stuff where, most of the people aren't going to get it. I know they made a choice and they came, but, they need to educated about their choices. Because, if somebody's just looking for a job, set orientation, traffic control, WMIS, first aid, they can get on a set. If they look like they want to work hard, they can get on a set. The film school certificate really doesn't do a lot to get them that first job that they're going to get on a film set. Yes, they may get promoted quicker, but I do think that being on an actual set for 8 months is better for getting promoted than being in a film class for 8 months.
Right.
Depending where you're going, I'm not talking about, USC or anything like that. I'm not talking about these prestigious film schools where this long line of successful graduates have come from. I'm talking about the private film education where the only qualification to get in is the ability to pay.
Right.
So I really do, a lot of people can get some great stuff out of film school, but I think that more, the owners of these places need to be held more accountable. When film school becomes a business and, the graduates aren't succeeding, you need to re-examine that model, and some regulations need to be set up to really sort of to gauge that better. Because a lot of these kids, they choose to go to film school on a pipe dream, and not saying that they can't do that, but they need to be given the choices. There's this shroud of mystery about the film industry. People don't know how easy it is to get a job if you want one. And they all come in wanting to be directors, and that's not the reality.
Right.
There has to be a bit of innate talent that exists before you're going to be, a successful filmmaker. And you need to know whether you have that. And, some people may not have that innate talent, but it lies somewhere else. But just understanding the business in order to make sure you make an educated decision, I think that's important. And that's the school's responsibility to do. And that's why I was always butting heads with the administration and the owner of the school, is when students would come in, I would give them the honest truth about the film industry and where it's going, where we've been, what you need to succeed, what we provide, what we don't provide. And that honesty actually saw an increase in enrollment. Whereas, when you're trying to sell people lies in this day and age, people are so used to it, especially the young generation that has grown up on the internet.
Right.
It's so easy for them to suss out, BS. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked.
Jordan, I would really like to work on something with you.
Crickets?
Yeah, crickets. No. I don't know. I just like how you know all this. It's just I can't help but just sit and listen just because I just find it all fascinating.
Well, not a lot of people do, though. I think you're in the minority.
Yeah.
It's
what are you trying to say, minority, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you trying to say?
I think that it's not the sexy part of the industry.
Right.
It's not something that you look cool doing. You don't have these awesome headphones and a big long stick with the mic at the end of it.
What?
You don't have a camera in front of you. You're not framing stuff. You're not telling people what to do. You're just sitting there getting signatures. So it's the least sexy part of the industry, and nobody, everybody calls themselves a producer, but nobody actually wants to learn what that entails. Everybody thinks it's, going to the donut shop and getting leftover donuts and muffins for your crew, and that's not what it is. It's making sure that people are in place, having a good production manager, which is completely ignored in private film schools because, most of the people who are teaching at film schools were directors or cinematographers or sound mixers. Very few of them were actually producers. So the production manager, which is a very important position on a film set, who coordinates everything and makes sure that this whole sort of, a lot of this business end of stuff is taken care of. There's no communication with them because they communicate basically with the producer and the AD. Mm. So it's largely ignored in film school, and that's where you would start learning about the paperwork, the coordination of the crews, the location releases, and making sure that everything's in place. And at the independent level, that's basically the producer to make sure that you have insurance. So if somebody gets hurt, you're covered, or if the gear that you borrowed from somebody else is damaged or stolen, then you're covered for that. And insurance policies aren't sort of a make or break anymore. It's there's a lot of film societies that will give you a 2 or 3 day film insurance policy for $100. Mm-hmm. So it's just really coordinating with them, and if they don't provide that for their members, then ask them to. Mm-hmm. Get enough people together that will be paid for each year. They could probably get it for $1,200 a year if they're a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And then if they get 12 people a year who actually basically rent the insurance as members of the society, a year, then they would be able to be protected. Not only the film society's gear, but if somebody gets hurt. So it's important to do that.
But you still have time?
Oh yeah.
I just want to ask you. Let's talk movies.
Sure.
What have you seen? What have you seen? Have you seen any of the summer blockbusters or anything like that?
I've got a great story for you. I'm glad you asked that question, Chris.
I'm glad I asked it too.
I saw a few movies when I was in the Philippines. If I have any downtime, I like to go to the theaters there. First of all, the theaters are really, really great. And the IMAX screens are actual IMAX screens there. It's not, where somebody's just bought a little bit of a bigger screen and called it IMAX.
Right.
They also have this thing there called the Directors Club where, it costs about $8 there to go to it, but you get to watch the movie in a Lazy Boy recliner. Ooh. A huge Lazy Boy recliner. There's 32 Lazy Boy recliners in a theater. They bring you popcorn and you get to watch your movie that way, which is really incredible.
Yeah.
But sort of that aside, so I'd like to catch as many movies as I can while I'm there because it's such a good experience, theatrical experience.
Right. And it's something you can't get, in Victoria.
Yeah, here you pay for a fake IMAX 3D movie and you're down $20 to get in Canada. Mm-hmm. There you do the same thing and you're out, $7.
Right.
In a really good theater. But I was in Cebu and I had some downtime, so I went to go see a movie. And there wasn't really a lot playing that I either hadn't seen or that I wanted to see. But that movie White House Down was playing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what the hell? I got a couple hours to kill. So, I went in and saw it. And the movie's not good. Like, I mean, you might enjoy it, you might not.
Right.
The performances aren't that good, the script's not that good. There's tons of ridiculous stuff that I would never recommend the movie.
Right, okay.
But the audience was fantastic. When the villain would walk by and the little girls in the foreground, the whole audience would go like, whoa, and everybody's laughing when they're supposed to laugh, screaming when they're supposed to scream, clapping when the bad guys get killed, it was just it was just such an amazing experience. So the movie was crap, but the audience was fantastic. Mm-hmm. So it made me remember, this is what movies were like when I, in the 70s, when I first started going to movies, when I saw movies like, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Clash of the Titans, all these movies in the theater, this is what the audience was like. Mm-hmm. The audience was engaged in the film, and you went to the movie to have fun. It was something that you did to have fun. And somehow, certainly, here in Canada, where I live, movies have gotten to the point where, we pay our money and we sit down and we're like, entertain me.
Right.
Make me feel something. When really you should be participating in the experience. Mm-hmm. Not saying that everybody should be clapping and oohing and awing through every single movie they see because, not all movies are made for that. Mm-hmm. But it just reminded me that we have to take some responsibility on ourselves for having a good time at the movies and enjoying a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always loved crappy movies. Like Sharktopus is still one of my favorite movies. And I just saw Sharknado and it was fantastic. Dino Croc versus Super Gator. I love these cheap movies because they know what they are and they put it out here. They know what they are and they give it to you and, take it or leave it. So to see like a very mediocre movie that has enough production value that I can't put it in the same category as Sharktopus.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about the difference of like, probably $70 million in the making of the movie. I if I had seen it here, I would have been very critical. And immediately Jamie Foxx is the president of the United States. He's no Obama. It's just, you start criticizing movies. A perfect example is Man of Steel.
Uh-huh.
People go and see it and they're like, well, Superman would never kill anybody. And, they get into these, things from the comic book character. Well, you're seeing a movie. If you want to read the comic book, if you want the comic book on screen, then read the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the same thing on screen. You've got people who are trying to make a 2-hour commercial to sell action figures and make it as engaging for the audience as possible. And, if you look at the box office, they did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
They were successful with what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But people become so critical and they're so scared to sound unintelligent or so scared to like something that nobody else likes that they become overly critical of these pieces of art that somebody's created to make money for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of it that way, business people have decided to put together a team of people to make them money. And then we start criticizing these artists for doing what they're paid to do, instead of just enjoying what they've tried to do.
Right.
And I think this being overcritical of films, the anonymous online critic, has just gone too far. And I think if people could scale it back a bit and remember you're paying to be entertained and to have fun, so try to have fun.
Right. So the moral of the story is just enjoy it.
Yeah, relax. Enjoy the movie.
Chill.
Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
There you go. There you go. So you hear that, people?
That was a long way of saying it. I took the long cut to get to the moral of the story.
I'll simplify everything for everyone. It's okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would encourage people if they are interested to learn about what I'm doing with the kids in the Philippines, the scholars program that I got. They can visit Dumolog, which is DUMOLOG.blogspot.com. Mm-hmm. And they can see a lot of the updates and what we're doing. And, they don't have to donate. Just, showing interest is really great. And, a couple of these kids, they share some computer time up at an internet cafe. Mm-hmm. So they scrape together, 15 pesos, which is like 30 cents. Mm-hmm. And they go up there and they share an hour of internet time. And they go to the Dumolog Facebook page and they see who's liking photos, and it just makes them feel really good that people outside of the Philippines are interested. Mm-hmm. So I'd really encourage people, if they want to like us on Facebook, follow the blog. It really means a lot to these kids, and if they want to contribute a little bit and start helping out or get a scholar, it's really cheap. You can start at like $80 a year, which buys their uniform, their bags, their miscellaneous fees for school. Mm-hmm. And we also throw a Christmas party, so they get a little gift and a Christmas party out of that money as well. So $80 a year, so it's super, super cheap. It's like probably the cheapest scholars program in the world. We have a lot of bigger donors, and I put in a lot of stuff myself from profits from the last documentary I did on the Filipino mythology. Mm-hmm. And, so a lot of the other stuff's provided for: medical expenses, dental expenses, things like that. And we will be launching a campaign soon to try to raise some extra funds for our first scholar to go to college. So, check that out. Also, if you're interested in learning more about chain of title, or if you feel that your knowledge in the business end, maintaining all those hundreds of copyrights that are created mm-hmm. with a film, how to set up the limited liability company properly, how to access all the paperwork that you need, then definitely visit Chain of Title on Facebook, the website, Twitter, Indiegogo. All of it links to each other, so you can connect with us that way. And kick in if you want to get some of the perks. We're going to have ebooks available, DVDs with all the animated explanations on what you need and how to do it, which may be a good option for people. It'll all be online, but some people may like to actually be able to access it differently. So, come and check that out. We got great perks available at certain donation levels. We'll send you contract packages, which has a folder of all the contracts you needed in the U.S. and another folder which has all the contracts you need in Canada. So, so if you need those for your filmmaking, or if you just want to learn more about it, then visit us there for sure as well.
Jordan, unfortunately, our time has come to stop talking.
Okay.
But I've had a great time chatting with you, and I hope I made this as painless as possible.
No, it's actually I might actually start listening to podcasts now. If it's full of such interesting and intriguing information as this was.
Wow, the bar is way too high. You need to lower that bar, man.
Yeah. No, it was great, and you made it painless, so that was really great.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, well, thanks a lot, Chris.
Well, thank you. You have a good one, okay?
Okay.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.